Hello everyone. So in this session, I'm going to try to explain the full method of literary analysis. I have spoken of literary analysis in class, all the teachers have spoken of literary analysis, but we didn't really go deep into that. And since we're having a very limited time, the 2 hours that you have in class are somehow heavy for you. You're having that at the end of the day after different lectures and so on. So I'm trying to help you here by explaining the basics, and then in class we're going to see them and reviewing them. I am going merely to explain the things that need concentration and which you are not going to focus on during class. Last time we have spoken of the plot, characterization, and settings as the main aspects of the novel. This is the same thing we're going to do here in the literary analysis. That is, when we are speaking of literary analysis, when you are analyzing a text, we're actually starting about the basic aspects of the novel, that is the settings, the characterization, the plot, and the point of view, that is the narration. And then where we will be commenting on them, describing them, analyzing them in a literary text. The first thing you should be aware of, or you should know in a literary text, or in a method in the literary analysis, is how to deal with the literary text, how to speak about the literary text and write about the literary text. Okay, first thing you should bear in mind is that the teacher knows nothing about the literary text. You will be teaching them about the literary text. Yes, we, the teachers, have picked the text for you, but while writing down, you should act as if the teacher knows nothing about the text. And this is how you will be informative. This is how your answers are going to be full answers. Okay? One more thing you should know is that the method of literary analysis is somehow long. It's detailed, but in an exam, you are not going to be asked to make the full analysis because you're going to sit for an exam of about 60 or 90 minutes. So you are going to be asked to speak about 5 aspects of the text, both related to the form and the content. Okay, but the 5 aspects will be taken from the full method of analysis, so it depends. That is, the questions are going to vary from time to another. First thing you should know about the literary text is that it is a composition of both content and form. So when we are asking about the content, we're speaking about what the author is dealing with, or what is the message of the author. When we're speaking of the content, we're speaking about the main message of the author. And then there is the form, that is how he deals with it, that is the narration, how things are put together and so on. And how is it conveyed or transmitted. When we're speaking of the form, we're also speaking of the figures of speech, the structure of the text, the way things are presented to you. Okay, so the first step in a literary analysis, whether you are asked for it or not, you should always do it. Okay, the first thing, the literary analysis should be done in the form of essay. Okay, you should know you should be writing an essay. So whether you are asked for it or not, always begin your essay with the identification of the passage. Actually, the identification of the passage is the introduction of your essay. Okay? You should always start by identifying the passage. What do I mean by identifying the passage? You have to state that it is an excerpt, a passage, or an extract, and so on, taken from, and provide the full name of the author, as well as the full title of the literary work that has been provided to you. For example, this week we asked you to speak about Daniel Defoe's the life and adventures of Robinson Crusoe. Even though in class when we're speaking about the novel, I would often say Robinson Crusoe without providing the full title. But if you are on paper, you are required to provide the full title of the novel. That is the life and adventures of Robinson Crusoe. Okay? Same thing when we're speaking about the novel Frankenstein. The version of the novel that we're dealing with in class is entitled Frankenstein or Modern Prometheus. Same thing happens here. If you're just going to say the text is taken from Frankenstein and stop there, that is written by Mary Shelley, The answer here is incomplete. Why? You did not provide the full title of the novel. Why the full title of the novel is highlighted here? It's Frankenstein or Modern Prometheus. So first thing you have to bear in mind is that you must provide the full title of the novel. Okay? So provide the name of the author, the full title of the novel, and the other additional information that was provided to you with the text. Okay? That is the chapter, the page number, the volume, and so on. If in case this information is not provided to you with the text, do not try to find it. In the exam, you are only required to find or to provide the title of the text and the name of the author. We are not going to provide you the title of the text and the name of the author, but it's going to be a text taken from a literary work that was dealt with in class. Not necessarily the same excerpt, but the moment you're going to see the text, you are going to find out which literary work it has been taken from. Example, you will find the name of the characters. You are going to see Robinson or Friday. You see Robinson or Friday. You know that the text was taken from Robinson Crusoe, even if the excerpt was not dealt with in class. Okay, this is why I was insisting that it is very important that you learn the method and not my answers of the text, because the texts are going to change, but the method is going to stay the same. Okay, so it's very important that you learn the method itself. All right. Uh, for example, we could be providing a text from Frankenstein, but the text is going to be different from the text we've dealt with in class. So you will probably find, you are not probably, you are certainly going to find an indicator that will help you understand or find out the origin of the text. For example, if you see the name Victor, Victor is the protagonist in the novel Frankenstein. Or you see the word the beast. There's only one beast in the syllabus of the first semester, and it's the beast from the novel Frankenstein. You can see Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a character in Frankenstein, or you are going to recognize the events in the novel. If the speaker is speaking about the beast that was hurting him, that has hurt his family members, and he regrets having created the beast, and so on. From the events of the that are narrated in the text, you are going to realize which novel it has been taken from. This is why it's very important that you study carefully each novel we are dealing with in class. As I said before, our time is very limited. We will be focusing more on the movements and the method of literary analysis, but knowing about the content of the novel is unfortunately going to be your task. Okay, you will have to do your own research, finding out everything about the novel, a detailed summary of the novel, the main events of the novel, the characters, and so on, so that it becomes very easy for you to understand the text in class, and so to find out which text it has been taken from during the exam. Okay, this is why I said in the beginning we will need your entire collaboration here to make this successful. Okay, so let's take the example. I was saying when I was speaking about the identification of the passage, I said it's the first step in your analysis. Whether we ask you to identify the passage or not, you will always have to identify it. Always make the introduction of your essay the identification of the passage, even if we don't ask you to identify it. It's very important that you do it. So you should mention the name of the author, the full title of the literary work, the chapter, and the page. And provide a general overview of the text, that is the general idea, in just one line or two. Okay? There is a difference between the general idea or the general ideas. It should be general idea here and not general ideas. Okay? Just provide a very brief, okay? Focus on this, very brief general idea of the text. Okay? Example, in the text that you were provided, you can simply say, the text is about Robinson Crusoe's fight with the waves when he was drowning at sea after his ship was wrecked. Okay, I have just provided a very general idea of the text, a very brief overview of the text in just one line. Why am I insisting on the fact that it's very brief and should be provided in just one line. That's because in the next step of the literary analysis, we will be speaking of the general ideas with an S at the end, okay? That is, in the next step, we will be speaking about the general ideas, and this is where you have to explain them more thoroughly with more details, okay? We had this problem in the last semester, in the exam of the last semester. I told the students that they had to provide a very brief idea in the introduction, as usual. And in the exam, we asked them to explain the general ideas of the text. And they confused things. They confused the general idea of the introduction with the question, explain the general ideas of the text. Now, when I say you can provide the general idea in the introduction, that's optional. Okay, you can do it, you can not do it. That is, you are free to do it or not. If you do it, it's going to make your introduction more beautiful, and thus you're going to have more grades. If you don't do it, nobody's going to ask you why you didn't do it. And the difference between them is that in the introduction, the general idea is very brief, only one line to speak about the entire text. Okay, very, very brief. But if you are asked to, in a formal direct question, to describe or analyze or explain, sorry, the general ideas of the text, in this case, you have to explain the content of the text in detail. In this case, I don't mean just one sentence, I mean one paragraph, okay? 5 or 6 sentences, maybe even 10 sentences, all right? That is, when you are asked to speak about the general ideas, you have to take your time and explain in detail what the text is about. You have to inform the reader, you have to act like the reader hasn't read the text, and you are explaining things for them, all right?